Welcome to the Network Build Grow podcast, the show where business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals share their stories, lessons learned, and powerful strategies for building relationships and growing their circle of influence. With Melissa Taylor, your host, each week we'll bring you actionable insights to help you build a better network and a better business. Let's dive in.
Are so excited to have Courtney Lucas with us today.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you today?
I'm doing great. So before we get started, let us kind of tell us a little bit about Steel Talent Solutions and specifically why? Why do you do what you do?
Great question. So Steel Talent Solutions is an outsourced recruiting service provider, predominantly for small to mid-sized businesses within manufacturing and distribution. Most of my clients are small, that probably 25 to 250 employees. They don't have internal talent acquisition just yet because they're not ready for that full-time hire. And so they've either been DIYing it, which is obviously not always the best. It takes them away from what they do best. Or they've been engaging with agencies that typically will charge 20 to 30% of a hire's annual salary. So, which prices a lot of small businesses out of that service. So the reason that I started Steel Talent Solutions and created the model that I did was really to focus on small to mid-sized businesses that need expert level recruiting support without the high price tag. So.
Yeah, that high price tag keeps a lot of people away from getting the talent that they kind of deserve because they don't have the reach that someone like you or an agency has.
Exactly. And it's unfortunate because it's so important, especially for small businesses, to get the right people in. When you're a founder of a company and you're starting to grow, hiring individuals can be a risk for a lot of people. And a lot of times they've tried to do it themselves and they've had bad hires. And so then they start to second guess their judgment. And so then they are hesitant to bring in new people, which just really puts a hindrance on their ability to continue to grow. So I think it's really important to have services like mine for small businesses.
Now, if I remember right from talking to you before, you're end to end. In other words, you'll actually help write the job description all the way through onboarding processes.
Correct. So a lot of what I'm seeing in the founders that I'm working with is these are brand new roles that they're bringing into the company because they've never needed them before because they're just now starting to grow and they don't have a job description. And so they need someone's help on how to put that together, on how to really explain what they're looking for, advertise their business through the job description, and really have something that is going to attract the best type of talent. So, and then, yes, I just kind of from there take all of the heavy lifting off of them and allow them to just focus on what they do best.
That's great. That's great. So now with that, I would imagine, you need to know a lot of people, not just in the sense of people that can use your services, but also you just need to know a lot of people so you can help kind of place people. How do you use networking kind of for both sides of your business?
So great question. I would say from getting candidates perspective, that has been easy. I think the minute people find out you're a recruiter, they are like, please help me find a job. Or if someone knows someone that's looking for a job, they're like, I've got a great recruiter, which I love being that person that's top of mind because I do genuinely enjoy helping individuals find roles, whether it's something I'm personally working on. So I feel like just having that recruiter title, you don't have to do a lot of networking to get people to reach out to you for help. On the other side, from a business perspective, that's been a little bit more challenging. I moved to Charlotte, about 10 years ago. But for the first 9 years, I worked remote for a company up in Manhattan. And so I did not need to develop a professional network. So when I decided to launch my business, I said, wow, I really need to meet people. I need to figure out where even the best place to meet people is. So that was an exciting but challenging part of kind of kicking off my business, was trying to find those organizations that I could meet like-minded people, meet potential clients, but also just potential individuals to add to my network and my community to, help with other referrals, but also gain, knowledge from as well. So that's networking's been an interesting part of my journey. That's for sure.
Yeah. So, okay. So you had to jump in kind of with both feet. What would be some recommendations for people that have to do that are basically starting from ground zero?
Sure. So I guess, I would say you probably have to make the mistakes yourself in some respects. But I think for me, I think the best way to do it is to go in without a lot of preconceived notions. Just go in, be authentic, talk with individuals, because you never know where that one conversation is going to lead. So I think it's important to go with an open mind and, try and talk with individuals, show interest in other people, but also do a little research before you go. Most of these networking groups have websites. They have either they're on LinkedIn or Facebook or Instagram, and you can read up a little bit about the types of individuals that are attending the meetings, the types of information that the groups are putting out as a representation of the organization. And from that, you can tell a lot about whether this is going to be a good fit or not. And then sometimes it's going to be a miss. You're going to meet some really great people, but maybe not the best for your company. And then others, you're going to walk in and think, wow, where's this room been? I should have been in this room all along. So.
Yeah. So you're in a very specific kind of vertical, manufacturing, supply chain, those kinds of things. How important do you think it is to get involved with an industry specific group?
So I think it's really important. I myself joined Women in Manufacturing and are also investigating some additional manufacturing specific networking groups. I think for me, being in rooms with individuals that are completely dialed into my ideal client is going to be a key to my success. I think that it's important to, if you have such a specific niche like I do believe it's important to go and be in the rooms with the decision makers and the hiring managers and the founders in order to build those relationships so that when they do need hiring help, I'm one of the first people that they're thinking about, hopefully.
Yeah, I think industry specific is vital. I think you have to have other groups as well in your wheelhouse, like a chamber or something like Network Build Grow with a mix of different people. But also being involved in your industry is vital. We tell speakers, because I work with a lot of speakers. We tell speakers they've got to be go into AENC and the National Speaker Association and the different groups that have to do with speakers. It's really important.
No, absolutely.
Okay, so. Do you consider yourself an introvert or an extrovert when you go to events?
So really good question. I think when I was younger, I would have absolutely said I was an extrovert. And my guess is most of the people that know me from maybe 15 years ago would say the same thing. I think maybe as I've gotten a bit older, I've become a little bit more introverted. So I have to really kind of push myself a little bit outside of a comfort zone when I walk into a room. Because I'm going into rooms where I don't know anyone. And it can be very intimidating to just walk up to someone and say, hi, and start talking with them. But I find that the more I do it, the easier it is. And I've also, I think, just had to put my mind at ease and say, we're all in the room for roughly the same reasons. We're all in the same, so if someone's kind of standing off on their own, they're probably feeling a little bit uneasy like you are. And so if you just make the first step and go up and start talking to them, it may make things a lot easier for them. And, and I think you just kind of have to jump in and do it and try and overcome your fear a little bit.
Yeah, you do. So, okay, so you go up and talk to the person standing in the corner, or you're just walking a room and you're trying to navigate meeting some people. What are some of the first things that you might say or questions you might ask somebody when you walk up to them?
So a lot of times, depending on the group, I'll try and find out if the person's a member and, understand if they've been to this before. I try to avoid the "what do you do" question, like right out of the gate, because even though I know we're all there for business, it's nice, I think, to get to know someone a little bit more on a personal level. Another little one in my arsenal is if we're at a fun location, I try and find out if they've been there before, just to kind of open up the communications. And sometimes that'll lead to, where are you from originally? And then you can just really build on the conversation. So I just try to make it an easy transition to start the conversation. And then eventually I'm sure we'll get to what we all do. But at first, more of just, not
That's
that, hey,
human.
I'm here lately. I'm here often. Not like that, but just more of just to give people a little bit more of an ease, and so that it's not so
transactional and business.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. So, networking can mean different things to different people. How would you kind of define networking, just kind of in general?
For me, the way I see my networking is really just relationship building. I really strive to build my business through relationships. Mm-hmm. And I think the way to do that is from showing up, being interested in the individual that you're talking with, asking them questions. You're not the one that's always just making, the conversation. You're not only telling them about yourself, you're asking questions, you're trying to get to know them. And then there's the follow-up and just, making sure that, you're sending them a message occasionally and checking in with them. Or if you see them at an event, in the next couple of weeks, you make sure to go up to them again and say hello. And just because building relationships can take time, especially in a professional setting, because we don't see each other very much. And if we're all in a room with 30 other people, we all do want to talk to, several individuals to make it, worth the time. But I also think that it's important to have those personal conversations to build that relationship and not just try and have a 5-word sentence, conversation with each person in the room.
Yeah, the old speed networking kind of concept. That's
never been. I don't think it's really my style. I'm sure it works for a lot of people, but not really the way I like to do things.
Yeah, it's like speed dating with businesses, right. And that just doesn't work for me. Okay, so that brings me to another question. You meet some new people at an event. Do you actually try to have a one-on-one with all those people, or do you just really want to see them a couple of times at events first to kind of determine whether there's some synergy before you have any kind of one-on-ones?
So I think it's not an absolute. I think it kind of depends on the person and how well we connected when we first were speaking. I think I've had some conversations with people where maybe we had some things in common and we just really connected and we both agreed that we would love to chat more. And so that just happened naturally. And then there's a few other people that the conversation was fine, but maybe it hadn't gotten to the point where I felt like maybe they wanted to have more of a one-on-one. And so I'll send an email follow-up, or if I do send them at another event, I'll try and connect with them again, and then maybe schedule a one-on-one. So I try really to adopt my the way I do things depending on the person and how I feel that our connection was.
Yeah, I often love to see the same person at least twice, maybe 3 times before we have a one-on-one. Because, well, number one, my schedule won't allow a one-on-one with everybody.
Right.
So, I have to be a little bit more specific about that. But that goes to the point of also understanding that you need to go to the same group more than once or twice, so that you can have those repeat meetings with people to get to know them, which is great.
If you network for your business, you already know follow-up is everything when it comes to growing relationships and driving success. But here's the thing. Most of us want to follow up well. We just get stuck. Staying consistent, keeping it personal, making it stand out, it's hard. That's why I use NetEffect.io. It makes follow-up simple, cuts through all the noise, and helps me stay on top of every relationship without dropping the ball. I never miss a follow-up, and honestly, my network wouldn't be the same without it. So check it out. neteffect.io. And right now, you can use promo code NBG50 for 50% off of your first month. neteffect.io, your secret weapon to unforgettable follow-up.
All right, let's do some rapid fire questions about networking and some fun stuff. What do you think is a common mistake that people that have been networking for a while, not the baby networkers, but people who have been using it for a while in their business, but they still make this mistake? What do you think some of those are?
I would say probably not listening to the other person and maybe trying to be the person that is dominating the conversation and just trying to tell them all about yourself instead of really having a mutual conversation. I think especially if people are still nervous in that environment, they can tend to just talk because they don't know what else to do. And I think that can be a real mistake in trying to build authentic and genuine relationships with other people.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so let's say you're having a great conversation with somebody, right? It's a wonderful conversation. And you think this person really could be a client. Like I could help this person. How do you turn that casual conversation into more of a direct, like, hey, I think I could help you without sounding salesy and transactional?
So great question. I actually had this happen not too long ago. I think this is like a great story. I was, in all honesty, was sneaking out of a of a networking event. I had done the networking portion, the kind of meet and greet, and the rest of it was panels, and they were talking about things that I was actually having to Google the words that were coming out of the people's mouths. And I was like, I think my time is better served somewhere else. So I was sneaking out, and at the valet, I ran into this individual that was doing the exact same thing. He was like, I'm leaving. Yeah. And we got to talking, and he was like, I'd love to talk with you. It's probably, a ways down the road, but would love to chat with you. We may need someone like you. I'm like, great. So I, followed up with him, and he was busy and didn't respond. And so I waited a couple weeks and followed up again. And, he finally responded and was like, I appreciate you being persistent. And so I think for me, I remembered the conversation that we had. When I sent him a message, I tried to make it lighthearted and funny about our same situation about sneaking out, and just letting him know that, I enjoyed our conversation. I'd really love to talk with him to see how I could help. And he was very receptive about it. So, I think it's just keeping in mind that you never know when you're going to run into somebody that could turn into a potential client. Because if I hadn't left that place early, I would have never run into him. So, just, making sure that you're right, not going for the direct sale. It's more of, I really enjoyed meeting you. And I know you mentioned this. I'd love to be a resource. Let me know when, and try to be available, but not too pushy.
And you said a good thing there. He actually wrote back and said, thank you for being persistent. And I think a lot of people stop short of the door opening.
Right.
They get up to the doorstep and then they don't knock that second time.
Right.
And so many people I see leave money on the table just because they're not willing to be persistent. And persistent doesn't mean pushy. Right? It just means they're top of mind. So what is one of your number one tips for staying top of mind with your circle?
So, really, I have a system that I set myself reminders, because we're all human and we get busy, and there's no way I'm going to remember off the top of my head how many weeks it's been since I talked to somebody. So whenever I meet someone new, I really do try and set a cadence and an alert to let me know, hey, it's been a month since you talked to this person. But I also try to be very mindful of who I was speaking with and what would benefit them. And so if I'm out networking and I'm meeting somebody and I think, that would be a great person for this individual to also connect with, I send a connection. It has nothing to do with me. I'm not trying to, get more time on their calendar. It's just more of me trying to be helpful. And, for me, it's also, I hope that they'll do the same. If they meet someone that they think would be important for me to meet, then they'll think of me as well. It's not always about, what can I get a client? Can I get money from you? It's more of, can we all just support each other in this crazy journey of entrepreneurship and connect each other with the right people?
Yeah, it's like a gumball machine,
Yeah.
right? So like I might connect you with this piece of gum over here, this gumball, so to speak. And you might not then connect me to somebody, but just somebody else in the gumball machine is going to connect me. It's almost like, what's that word that they use? Karma. Right?
Yeah,
Like if I
exactly.
connect people together, then even if those specific people don't connect me, somebody in the gumball machine is going to connect you.
Right.
And
yeah, no. And I think for me too, cause I'm still, I'm about to hit my 1 year mark. And so a lot of what I can offer individuals is not necessarily, okay, I have a client who needs your service. Let me connect you. It's, I've talked to these really great people. Let me connect you and see how that can help you. Or, I've been introduced to this great group. Let me, come visit with me and see who else you can meet. So that is the way, because I don't have the work to help people with. That's my way of kind of giving back and trying to help build those mutual beneficial relationships.
Yeah, I think that's an underutilized resource. If you know about a networking group or an industry group and you're going to an event, inviting somebody along, that's an underused, tactic, so to speak. Number one, they love you because you just opened up a whole new group of people for them to meet that they maybe didn't even know was a thing.
Exactly.
Yeah,
No,
so
and
that's really good.
I can thank Chadwick for inviting me to NBG. We were introduced to each other to have a one-on-one, and he's like, "Well, can you do it on this day and come to a huddle beforehand?" And that's how I was introduced to NBG. So absolutely, it works, and it's a great way to give back and help other people. Absolutely.
Yeah, and help other people. Okay, last question. All right. If you were going to give one piece of advice to people that are brand new at networking, what would it be?
Be authentic. Don't try and oversell yourself. There is something really great about being vulnerable as well. I know when I was first starting out and I didn't have it all figured out, when I would go to networking events, I would say, I don't know, I don't even know what I don't know, and more often than not, most people would be like, I know what you're going through. I feel the same way, or I was there. And I think it's just important to present yourself as a genuine human being, because that's who people will relate to and that's who people will remember. If you walk in and you're really not yourself, people aren't going to be drawn to you. So
yeah, I agree 100%. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I've never been to this group before. What is happening?
Right.
Like, have you been here before? Can you tell me what is happening? Like,
right.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Well, thank you for being with me today, Courtney.
Thanks. No, I appreciate you having me on. This was great.
Yeah.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Network Build Grow podcast. If you enjoyed today's conversation, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow entrepreneur or professional. And of course, if you're not yet part of our community, visit networkbuildgrow.com to connect with us. Until next time, keep building and keep growing.